Sorry, having a technical issue. Give us a moment.
No problem.
No worries.
Okay, do it now. I'd like to call this meeting to order. It's, what time? 4:40?
4:37.
4:37.
All right. So just giving an update on the public safety renovation that we have upstairs going on. So the space basically was like plywood floors and construction, beams, and now
It was
we're...
an attic.
It was an attic. That's a great way to explain
There
it.
was actually a lot of areas that had literally nothing.
Yeah. Like you could fall through
Yeah.
into the
Yeah.
ceiling of the
Well, they
floor
could have
below.
saved a piece of plywood.
Well, that's true. That's true. So, so Assabet Valley in partnership was really excited to have their students work cross-discipline there. And they've brought in carpentry, electrical, HVAC, and plumbing. And they are actually building out the space. And what it costs us is the cost of materials, which is estimated at $600,000. Plus, we pay a 15% fee to Assabet. And that covers their transportation of the students to the site. They have a bus that brings them here, and it covers,
Incident.
tools, any things that they kind of use from their shop, etc. So really excited. It's projected to be an 18 to 24 month project. It just kicked off in January. And we did run into an HVAC issue, as you're aware of. Unfortunately, the system as it was designed was really, in all honesty, over-designed for the space. And it was not a system that Assabet could actually implement because it had so much duct work. So what they did was they went with a more simplified system, which the mechanical engineer is currently in the process of redesigning. And we still will have some ductwork with that in the ventilation system that we'll have to put out to another outside contractor to do. But that will enable them to do most of the work, and that's a several $100,000 cost savings for us, which we wouldn't have been able to do the system as designed because it was about a $300,000 system. So that's kind of a basic overview of where we're at with the project. I don't know if you have any questions I can answer.
I don't think I have any questions. It sounds like a great project. It's really cool that you're bringing in the school to help out and get this done. And it's obviously nice that it's one of those things that it helps them and it helps you save money in the long term as well. If you'd like, I can go through kind of the incentive structure and what we can offer through this new construction major renovations program.
That would be great.
Yep, so just so you all know who I am, I'm with Lighthouse, and we're contracted by National Grid to provide the project management support on behalf of that Mass Save program for the commercial new construction projects, major renovations and additions. So I'll be the point of contact basically between the project team and the National Grid Mass Save side of things from start to finish. So basically now until construction's complete and we've issued you that incentive check. So what I'm going to do now, if you don't mind, can I share my screen and I can show
Absolutely.
a breakdown of what we could offer for incentives?
Absolutely. You should be able to share, I think. Yep.
All right. It says I'm sure. Yeah. Can you see this little grid here with the
Yes.
measures and all that?
Yep.
All right. So this is the incentive breakdown for our measure by measure based approach. So basically, how this process works is once we get an MOU signed, we will assign a TA vendor to the project that's been pre-approved by National Grid, and they'll take a look at the designs and the energy conservation measures that are being implemented into the project, and they'll run an energy analysis report, and they'll say, based on what we're seeing here, we project X amount of kWh savings annually or X amount of therm savings annually, and they'll use those savings projections and plug them in to these numbers right here. So the rates are 35 cents per kWh saved and $2 per therm saved based on the design, and that's how they calculate the incentive that you'll be eligible for at the end of the project. I know there was discussions of heat pumps being involved as well. If that's still the case, these are the heat pump rates below, so 800 per ton source, 1,200 per ton for VRF, 4,500 per ton for ground source heat pump. So if heat pumps are still an option that are being looked at and being implemented into this project, a large portion of incentives could come from those heat pumps, especially if the tonnage number is on the larger side. So that's kind of the quick version of what could be incentivized and how we calculate that incentive. This list right here, obviously listing the measures that we'd be evaluating. This list is straight out of that MOU that I mentioned, which I believe I've sent over, but I can share it again just so you have it. It's a good reference point because it has this incentive structure. It also gives a brief breakdown of the program process. One thing I do want to note, it did come to mind as you were mentioning that you'd be saving a lot of money with this project in terms of the cost you'd be putting into it by bringing in Aspen Valley to do a lot of the work, is that the total incentive we provide at the end of the project can't exceed the total cost of the project. So obviously I don't know what that total cost is, and it's hard for me on my end to predict what that final incentive would be for the project. Since I'm not an engineer by trade and I don't know what exactly the measures that are going into this and the savings that are going to be generated. But I do just want to note that going forward, if you did go forward with this incentive structure and the incentive maybe didn't match the savings that you were thinking of, but that's kind of a cross that bridge if we get there point. But all in all, this is the incentive structure that we'd be looking at for this project and how we calculate it and sort of the beginning of the process, if that makes sense. So I'm happy to answer any questions at this time.
I'm fine.
I have a question. So when you say the total project cost, that's not for the HVAC component, that would be for the construction cost as a whole?
Yes, the construction cost as a whole, so it would be like all the labor, materials, and equipment, everything that goes into the projects. Yeah, so the entire project cost, not just specifically the HVAC cost.
Right. So just so you know, our total project budget, all in with some grant funding that we received and a state earmark, is $828,000.
Okay.
I've never seen an incentive. I don't think that I think there's extremely low risk that the incentive would be larger than the
Okay.
project.
Right.
I know that you have to say that. Yeah.
Yeah,
I
because
figured.
This is only a couple thousand square feet, right, at best. So.
Yep.
Yeah, so I think the measure's going to be limited here. My gut feeling is there might be a little bit of a building envelope and I don't know about the shower, the low flow domestic hot water fixtures, but I don't think that's much. I think the big one is going to be if they're designing for an air source heat pump, which I think was the case. I think that's where you're going to get the bulk of the money.
Okay.
If I had to guess without looking at the design.
Hi, everyone.
And Ethan, to enroll for the town to enroll in the program, Kristen just needs to sign the MOU and get it back to you. Is that correct?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, we just need a customer signature on the MOU. So yeah, someone from the town. Once we have that, if you could get us the design plans for the space as well, and then we can get that over to the TA vendor that's assigned to the project, and we can start that energy savings analysis process and make goals from there.
Okay. The chair has
incentive. But the other measures that we see on this list, I know like building envelope was mentioned, obviously being one of them. So any of the measures on this list that are incorporated into this renovation, we would be evaluating, including in that energy savings analysis and projecting any savings that we could get from that.
And I apologize, I'm switching from my professional work to my private volunteer, so I need a second to catch up. This is the construction incentives that we spoke about at our last community. Okay, tracking now, thank you.
You got it.
Okay, so from a construction standpoint, what does the timing look like? Are we still early enough in the project that your voice quality is poor?
Oh.
Sorry about that. I know that was a loud crunching noise as we moved you, but so are we still in the time window when this is appropriate to be doing, and that the incentives still are in play? And because I know we've done some work on the project already.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we've confirmed that we can still take this, even though that because construction's already began. Construction's already underway for this renovation, correct?
Yes, it started in January.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Yeah, we've already confirmed that we can, in fact, still take this through this incentive pathway.
Excellent.
That's wonderful. Thank you.
So the action items, I guess, would be to engage, for you to sign the MOU so that they can begin.
Yep.
What would be the next step after the MOU is signed? What would work just commence from your end, or is there anything further that the town would need to bring to the table to assist?
Yeah, it would be the MOU and the design plans you have. So any available design plans. That's what the TA vendor who's brought on to do that energy analysis is going to look at to project these savings. So yeah, MOU signature and design plans are what we'd be looking for right now. And then once we get those, they can perform the analysis, and that's kind of all the work done. All that work's being done on the Mass Save side. Once their analysis is complete and the incentive is approved by National Grid. Sorry, I do a little work in Rhode Island as well. But once that analysis is done, the incentive is approved by National Grid. We'll let you know, and then we'll have a custom application and an official commitment letter with that prescribed incentive that you'll be eligible to receive. So we'll just need some signatures from there once the analysis is complete. And then when throughout the rest of construction, that's when we're the least involved on our end. All we ask is that you keep us up to date on the construction timeline, because once construction is starting to wrap up, then that's when we'll look to collect some signatures and the verification documents that we'll need to close out the project and pay that incentive. Basically, all we're doing is just verifying that the building was built in accordance with the designs that you showed us in the design phase, so that we're incentivizing what we saw in the design, and that's what actually came to life, if that makes sense.
So will a physical inspection be required? How does the sign off and certification work?
Yep, we'll have someone go once the project's fully complete. We'll send someone out to do a post-inspection site visit, and they're kind of just going through and verifying that equipment that we're incentivizing is in fact there and installed and operating as intended to. There are a couple signatures we'll need to collect, some post-installation signatures for the application and the minimum requirements document, that will get sent over after the energy analysis is done. There are some submittals that we'll need to collect, and that minimum requirements document will list out the submittals that we'll be looking to collect for each measure that we're incentivizing.
And if we turn around the MOU and design plans in a reasonable amount of time, what's your time frame for completing your portion of the work?
In terms of the energy analysis,
Yes.
it depends a little bit on the bandwidth of the TA vendor that is performing the analysis. I'd say give or take a month. It varies a little, but it shouldn't be too long.
Okay, and you're looking at, when we spoke about this is the Kristen, when we spoke about the energy, like the budgeting, that nothing would be completed in this fiscal year anyway, so a month should be no problem.
No, we're still it's on an 18 to 24 month trajectory.
Okay, I'm just dotting the i's here, so that sounds like there's no conflict or timing pressure from your end.
No, yeah, we've confirmed that the timing of it isn't an issue. We can just take a look at the designs as they are right now being finalized, and that's what we'll base the analysis off of.
Okay.
Ethan, do you have you received the designs from Berlin on this, or is that something you?
I don't believe so. I'll have to double check my email, but I'm pretty sure that I don't have them.
Well,
And Kristen, has that final HVAC been fully designed, or is that still in? I think you mentioned they're still working on that.
they're
Is that-
still working on that. Everything else is final. So I can certainly
Okay.
get you everything but the final HVAC.
Okay.
Okay.
And I hope to have that within, I would say 2 weeks at the most. I am hoping within the next week on the HVAC.
Okay. Yeah, that's perfect.
Yeah, Ethan, I would assume without the HVAC, this piece of design is probably not going to be that helpful to.
Yeah.
review
Yeah.
it
We'll have to
before.
wait till we get the they'll have to wait to get the full picture.
Yeah, because that's the meat and potatoes of the project. So.
Exactly. Yeah.
Okay. All right. Cool. Thanks.
That makes sense.
Just a housekeeping item here. Before I came in, did everybody announce themselves for the camera and whatnot?
Oh no, you just opened the meeting. I think.
Kristen, Amanda's having computer issues, so she's calling in on her phone.
Okay,
I think you have to authorize her as an
Can you
analyst.
promote her?
Let her in.
I'm gonna let you.
You
do
want me
that.
to promote? All right, will do. Thank you for letting me know.
So just
Sure.
as kind of the high level thing, we are being recorded. Remember that. On the phone today, we have Ethan Belt and Sean McClone. Also, we will have Amanda here shortly rejoining us. So that's just from a bookkeeping standpoint. We do have Amanda with us again. Hi.
And Brandy Long, I just promoted
Oh.
as well.
Brandy Long is with us as well. So that's just kind of for the cameras, for the microphones, so individuals who are listening to this know who's speaking. Okay, so from a construction standpoint, is that portion, are we closed out on that? Is there anything we need additional clarification on?
In terms of this or the
Yeah,
design?
as far as these,
No, I think I just need to, Ethan, can you send me that MOU again? I think it may have gotten a little buried in my inbox during budget season, so if you don't mind sending that back out, that would be really helpful, and I can get that returned to you.
Yeah, no problem. I'll send that over, and then if you could just share those design and HVAC plans whenever they're available, that would be great.
Absolutely.
awesome. All right, is there anything we missed on this topic or something that we need to circle back around on that I missed?
The only thing I was curious about, National Grid and stuff for the school.
Oh, yeah, we'll get into that. I think that's outside of Ethan's
Okay.
purview. We'll do that as part of our regular community solutions piece. Anything else then? Ethan, are you good? Are you gonna hang on, or are you pretty much done at this point?
If there's no further questions or discussion on the public safety building, then I'm all set on my end, and I'll get that MOU over to you.
Very good. Yeah, that'll be it. I think we're just going to pivot into our normal quarterly meeting now. So you're free to drop off if you'd like.
All right. Thanks for your time. Look forward to
Thank
working
you.
with you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, Ethan.
Thanks, Ethan.
Thanks for setting that up. That was very helpful. Thank you. And I
Yeah,
keep
that's what these calls are, we're not call, well, these meetings are for, bringing in whatever kind of outside resources that you need for topics that we're working on.
And I keep getting a message that our voice quality is bad. Are you experiencing that on your side, or is it okay? Okay.
That's clear. Loud and
Awesome.
clear. Yeah.
Okay.
Bonus. Okay.
Wi-Fi sometimes does weird things. Yeah.
Zoom sometimes loses its mind. It's fine. Okay. So where do we want to go from now? That was a big one from the construction piece from our predecessor meeting. I guess, Amanda, what did you have kind of on your plate for today?
I apologize. I was going to be able to share my screen, and then there's something going on with my computer, my internet. So
It's all good.
the other thing I had on the list was just checking back on your implementation of your green communities projects with Guardian Energy, Charlie L. I had noted that those would be installed this month, April. And Sean, I don't think we had a chance to check in on that, so I don't know if you've talked with Charlie recently, but still definitely on track there, and plenty of time still for you to identify projects for fall block community of green communities that will be able to help you with in any way that we can.
Yeah, that matches our perception of what's going on too. Kristen has been a couple times poked Charlie and asked, when the start date would be and what was going on.
Yep, he said both projects are in the queue. They are trying to schedule the weatherization in April, and no later than May. Sorry, that there's a typo in there that threw me off. The control job will likely start in the summer, and because they've had all of their electricians working on the lighting, where National Grid gave a special promotion, which meant all the work had to be completed by the end of March. So that is delaying the completion of several projects, which is, setting everybody back in the queue.
Yeah. So our timeline, our perception of the timeline is that we're looking at fall green communities for our next round, and this is to your point, Eloise. That's when we would like to join with the school project to potentially put that on as our next green community grant proposal. I think that would be well received, since it is a electrification project. It is, has some strong, returns on it, as well as decarbonization efforts on it. So that's likely our next major program that we would pursue through the Green Communities program. One other point that we should probably chat about a little bit is, in the last meeting, you discussed the opportunity of having a fellow work with us. And we did follow up with that. I think you've been part of that, but for everybody else, we are getting close to actually bringing an individual on board. Very excited.
Oh, great.
Yeah, we were
Fantastic.
super lucky. The gentleman who is interested in working with us is in Worcester, a WPI student, actually a PhD WPI student, so clearly a talented individual. And I'm excited, speaking for myself, to have the opportunity to have him working with us
That's
for
awesome.
this summer.
Yep.
Go ahead, Kristen.
The gentleman's name is Omid. As you said, he's a PhD student, and if we are ready to move forward, they will send out they will extend an offer to him. It looks like, let's see.
No, I'm sitting here going, Omid, is that a male name or female?
That is male.
Okay, we have pronouns, great.
Oh, yes, Omid Madavi. And so it looks like, PhD in mechanical engineering from WPI. He's in that program right now. And in case anyone's interested, his dissertation is on sustainable iron production via flow electrolysis.
Yep.
Things I know nothing about whatsoever. He already holds a Master of Science in Energy Systems Engineering from Sharif University in Tehran, Iran. And he holds a Bachelor of Science in Physics as well. So pretty extensive experience here. I thought it looked like a great fit for us. Wanted to have the opportunity to speak about it here before we committed. But if the committee is open, I would certainly love to move forward.
So here's my take on it. First of all, I think, if anything, he's probably overkill, but I am happy to have that.
But that is okay.
But that is okay. So I guess my recommendation, I don't want to speak for the committee, but my recommendation would be, this is a great opportunity and I think we should take it. That's my opinion. As far as what I envisioned this person doing was, I would love to have them work out our decarbonization roadmap.
All right.
I think that we've been talking about this. Is something that, you know, our energy consultant that we're still kind of formulating through that grant that was on their plate too. I think this would be an excellent opportunity to get a lot of pre-work done prior to that occurring, and you know, this is clearly in their wheelhouse.
Absolutely.
So I think that would be a great thing. And then, you know, I would be very predisposed to turning them loose and say, floor is yours, you know, see what you can do. But we do need to have boundaries on them. Of course, it's not going to be that many hours that we, I mean, he's working on his dissertation, right? He's juggling other balls, right? But
Right. But we gave a lot of suggestions of things that could be done, and I like that idea of maybe he can suggest what would be of interest to him.
right.
Because we're more likely to get further on something that is of interest, I would say.
Yeah, I would like to see him engage his engineering skill set and follow the money and follow the data, right? And see
Mhm.
where it leads him. If we have time, another potential use for that would be, you know, looking at shovel-ready programs that jump out at him, and that could be someplace we could interface with National Grid or Amanda. Though you're going to be on maternity leave, so maybe not so much. But whoever's replacing you or Sean, to kind of work out some of those things. So that was a great tip. Thank you for that,
Yes.
you guys. We're super excited about it, and hopefully we can make this as good of an experience for him as I'm hoping that it'll be for us as well.
Congratulations to the town. That's a great win. I'm really excited
Yeah, it was super. I mean,
for what he'll bring to the table there.
yeah, and I think that it's going to be certainly a learning experience for us.
Yep.
I have some professional experience, you know, bringing along interns like this, or we call them TDPs, Technology Development Program. So probably the first thing that I would recommend that we do is find out what he wants to accomplish.
Yep.
And see what's of interest to him. I'm guessing, based on the educational background and personal preference that he wrote in his cover letter, that sticking him on a decarbonization plan is probably going to be something that would appeal. You guys have anything on that, or?
I think that's
I'll
awesome.
second that.
Yeah, I think
Yeah.
it was I
Take
don't want
it.
to say it was a lucky break, but it was a great break for us. And
Yeah.
Really exciting, and something too where I'll need the partnership of the committee to help guide and direct and oversee, because adding another
Yeah.
person in multiple projects, so I would look to you all
Yeah,
for
yeah,
some direction on that. So if that's something you're all amenable to,
I think
it'd be great.
I think one challenge, I don't want to say it's a challenge. He's public transit limited.
Yep.
I don't think that's a problem. We're doing a meeting right now on Zoom.
Right.
I mean,
We have 3 Zoom accounts for the town,
yeah.
so I'm not really worried about that.
I think we can handle that. If nothing else, I can certainly drive down to Worcester, pick them up, and bring them back a couple times.
Oh
But,
yeah.
So yeah, that was a great tip, and really excited about that. And like I said, I think the challenge for us, to your point, Kristen, is you've got a lot on your plate, so it's going to probably fall to us as the committee. I think that there could be some partnership that we may have with Fred, our facilities
Yep.
team, for hands-on, because I could see an easy ask. I'm trying to put myself in his shoes. The first thing that I would ask for is, what plans do you have? What information do you have about the system?
Right.
How can I
And
make
we
an
can
informed
reference
decision?
all that to him.
Yeah, I think that probably it would be appropriate for us to get a Mass Energy Insight account built for him, so he can peruse the data and, you know, look at the loads and, you know, where our energy is going, because that's going to be a primary component of any decarbonization plan is figuring out where it's at.
Is that something that CMRPC oversees as part of Green Communities, or is that something totally separate?
I honestly don't know. Do you guys know where the Mass Energy Insight comes from? Who owns that?
That's DOER.
Yeah, that's DOER.
DOER.
So we'd hit
So
up
I'm
Kelly.
sure Lisa Sullivan from the DOER Green Communities team, like, I know the DOER was promoting this, and this is kind of a partnership that they're connected. I know that I initially learned about this at the DOER Green Community Summit in the fall, and I'm sure Lisa Sullivan is one of the people who comes to mind, who I'm sure would be happy to sit with Omin and talk him through, and he would get the permission from Kristen to use MEI.
Mhm.
And then the other two resources that do come to mind are Central Mass Regional Planning and also MAPC, Metropolitan Area Regional Planning Council, since they've done so many, MAPC has done so many municipal kind of climate plans.
Mhm.
And then CMRPC, I know, has a regional,
Mhm.
not CMR, yeah, I think CMRPC has like a regional grant that they've been working on, and he could probably learn from both of them and take some tools too that they have available.
Yeah, I think it would be good for him to also build those connections in different parts of the Massachusetts overhead infrastructure, whatever you want to call it. The partnerships between both regional and local would be good to learn about.
And our municipal summit, our National Grid Municipal Summit is on June 3rd, and it will actually be in Worcester, accessible by public transit for him at Holy Cross, College of Holy
Okay,
Cross.
so just like last year. That's great.
Exactly, yeah, he'll just have to walk up the hill, so, or might even drop him off up there.
Right.
And so, he's welcome to join that
Okay.
with you. Like, hopefully, somebody from the town.
Yeah, I would like to come
Is
again.
available, but if not, like, if he's able to come, like, we could still count it as your participation.
Yeah, I got a lot of benefit from that. I don't know if anybody else wants to join, but
Yeah.
that was
I'd go.
a really good. Kudos to you guys for putting on a good show.
Did you say June 3rd?
June 3rd.
Awesome.
Let's see what else we got. So we've been working. Go ahead.
What else did I have on here? The main other thing, because we followed up with the barn, the DPW barn, and there wasn't kind of too much there, but just that I've been in communication with the Historical Society, and Tim, I think you've been on some of those emails. They're kind of in process. They've gotten some quotes from vendors for some,
Yeah.
and so anyway, that was the only other main thing I have noted on here.
Let me. That's actually. I'm glad you brought that up because I met with the historical. Is that society or committee?
Commission.
Okay. It's basically the same people, so
It
you're not
is.
far off. At one of their meetings, and I strongly recommended to them that they need to start with the engineering first. They've gone out and pulled several quotes, and from my opinion, what I saw in the quotes was that there was differences in the response because they didn't have a tightly bound ask, and they were a little bit hesitant to spend engineering dollars up front. And I told them that, again, I'm an engineer, right? I've got a bias here, but I think it is an insurance policy to have a professional take a look at this, and it's going to save you in change orders down the road. It's going to make your RFP or RFQ, if you go to it, much more bound. It's going to make sure that all the I's and T's are dotted and crossed. So I think that I was able to get them towards that, to say, find an engineer to work with. They already have a couple that they've been dealing with for other things. Gather every piece and every scrap of paper and information you have on this project and turn it over to them. Speaking from my own perception, I have never been upset receiving too much information. I've maybe used 10% of it, but I'd rather have the 90 and get rid of it than not have it. And I think that's the path that they're going down. I haven't checked with them since probably the last time you and I were on a communication with them, but that seemed to resonate with the chair there as well as the members, and I think that's the avenue they're going to be going down, which I'm excited about. I think that's the correct way to proceed.
I would agree too from a procurement perspective, because I did go to a commission meeting when they first talked about this, and I said you're not comparing
Right.
apples to apples, and
Right.
so you need a scope of work that can
Right.
be put out because you're gonna have an issue from a procurement
Well,
standpoint there too.
they're seeing like a 30 to 40% price differential between low and high. And, you know, it's not that these folks are, you know, sandbagging or overcharging, it's they're protecting themselves because they don't know what they're getting into because they've lacked. And one respondent, if I recall correctly, basically said, yeah, come call me when you've got a plan.
Yeah.
I'll be happy to respond then. So, like I said, I think they're on the right track. I think they're doing good work. I think that the efforts that they're doing, the other thing I told them was go through that property and pretend you're a real estate agent. Take pictures of everything, take pictures of every wire, every duct, every crawl space, everything about that. Get it photographically documented so that when somebody's looking at plans that maybe are, varying level of professionalism completed because they've been done by different people over different times, they can correspond that to an actual photo of current conditions. So, a little color commentary on that, but I think that's the path they're going down. I guess the only other piece that I have is again that we've talked about it before, but the challenge is going to be across the summer is getting our grant proposal ready for the school, making sure that we've got alignment between ourselves, the school committee, because really they're in charge. It's kind of their thing. We would just be bringing additional resources to the table, financially as well as potentially professionally. So that's our challenge to solve.
Would that be the first thing then that we put OMED on in addition to the decarbonization plan, helping with that sort of coordination and getting it done, because we have new administration completely at the school and we've been so budget focused we haven't really talked about this.
Well, there's the thing. So we've got town meetings, the 5th?
Yes.
5th. So we're looking at May, first week of May, town meeting. We are expecting potentially a little bit of drama at town meeting this
Cast
again.
1,000.
So once we're through that, I don't know what the school committee's normal schedule is, but I think they might be more receptive to say, okay, now that we got that behind us, let's talk about capital requests. Let's talk about working towards the future and how we can help you get there.
They're usually Tuesdays at 5.
All right. I don't know if they take the summers off or.
Oh, that's a good question. That I don't know.
Yeah. So anyway, anything else? Any grants or anything that you're aware of that we should be taking a peek at, or is that kind of dried up a little bit?
Not that I'm not aware of anything right now.
Okay.
You might kind of hear wind of the Mass CEC Green School Works grant, but schools need to have a minimum of 40% low-income students in one of the last 3 school years to qualify, which I believe
Yeah, I don't think we would.
schools in your district did not qualify. I think I did take a look at that data.
Yeah.
We are still waiting to hear back from it's not MAPC, the
Well, not Blackstone
Planning
Valley.
Commission that we went in on a joint application with for the energy manager.
Yeah, you will be hearing, so emails are going to be going out tomorrow, like looking at the
Oh
time.
wow.
Oh wow.
They will be going out tomorrow.
Asking you shall
so
receive.
Montezut Regional Planning Council will be the one to receive the email, since their name was they were the lead applicant. So they will be, they will be getting that information tomorrow.
Okay, great.
Yeah.
Okay.
And if you have any questions, once you do get that information, feel free to reach out.
Right on. Okay. So I think so the next big thing for us would be the summit in Worcester on June 5th or 6th.
Third.
June 3rd.
I was close.
Yeah.
June 3rd. I am going to plan to attend. I would, if you guys can get away.
What day of the week is it?
Tuesday.
Go Amanda. It's Tuesday.
And the hours
Well,
would be
we
roughly like
have a lot of focus on it on our team.
9
so
to 4. the hours would be like 9 to 4?
Yeah, it's typically an all-day thing, right?
Something like, yeah.
More like probably 9 to 3, but
Yeah.
Okay.
So if not, I'll try to be there. Chris, I know last year you were conflicted out, but wanted to go.
I did. I'm looking right now at that week to see where I'm at. I'm not getting my full calendar on here. That's not the week I need to go and just check with all of the. Nope, that's not summer, so that's not childcare week, even though it's June. The school's still in session then, so okay.
Session, yeah.
Yeah, I may be able to actually. As of right now, I have the energy committee on that day.
I'm looking at that. That's pretty much what we got.
It's
So.
kind of funny.
Oh, great.
Right.
Well, we'd love to have you there, Kristen.
I would love to go. I found the Green Communities Summit to be really interesting earlier. Nope, that was last year, right? Or was that earlier this year? I don't know. Everything's blurring together at this point, but I found that to be
November.
really helpful. So
And for you, Tim, as a kind of a community advocate, there's also a conference coming up organized by a nonprofit called Mass Energize. It's on a weekday. It's on April 30th, which is a Wednesday.
Is that the Concord one? Sorry, I interrupted you.
It's at Bentley University in Waltham.
Okay.
It's Mass Energize is a nonprofit that kind of helps organize folks in different communities around the state around kind of climate change and energy related topics. And so they have like for example, in my town we have an energy committee, but there's also a group affiliated with Mass Energize, and they have like a website that you can kind of it allows local groups to host on a web page and then kind of track energy and climate related actions that residents take. And the conference is an opportunity to kind of meet folks from other communities around the state who are doing similar type of work and kind of get tips and learn about different campaigns and
So it's
ways that people go
networking.
about doing things in different towns. So Mass Save is a sponsor of that. So myself and one of my teammates, Lori Timmerman, will be at that conference, and so just throwing it out there too.
Okay.
I know it's hard to get away on a weekday, but just
Yeah,
so that you know about just for your information.
I pick and choose.
Understandably.
Let's see. I think that is a wrap for me. Anything from you guys?
Do we meet with them again, or do we
So-
now space it out? Or?
Yeah, we did this one a little bit earlier. When would you suggest would be an appropriate time for our next, I guess it would be third quarter meeting?
Yeah, we did this one early because May and June, because of when the Energy Committee was typically meeting, we had like the energy summit, the municipal summit and things like that. So, April, May, June. I mean, it could be July. We could. I think it would probably be good to plan around, since the school's project and getting ready for Green Communities in the fall is the biggest push, like planning the meeting time around
Yep.
what makes sense for that. Like, if I don't recall if that project needs to go out to bid, Sean, or if that were
Like the green community grants?
the project for the school, like, is that something that they're gonna like that Guardian would work on, or is it something that needs to go out to bid? Just like
What school project?
So this would be the Berlin Memorial, the one that BQE did for you, that you shared with me, the kind of the overall plan. We met with the facilities director over there. It's the electrification project that they put.
Oh, that's right.
you have to refresh
Most
myself.
likely, yeah. I mean, unless it's done in pieces, most likely it's gonna exceed $300,000. You're talking about
Yeah.
electrifying the school.
That
for
was
heating.
it was a multi-million-dollar project, so we would just
Yeah.
be chipping.
Okay.
Yeah.
So yeah, most likely that would have to go out for bid.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Our feedback to them was that we would like to see a staged approach towards it. They put in a bid to the tune of, I think it was like 2.5 million on one option, and one was almost 4 million, and we're like, okay, that's a lot of money. So there's clearly a need for HVAC, and especially the cooling piece of it over there. But we're trying to think maybe there's a way that we can do this through successive grant proposals to maybe defray some of the cost and spread it
Yeah.
out and still get the
Yeah.
benefit.
Have you talked to someone other than B2Q? And I know Guardian has poked around. I don't know if they've actually delivered a proposal, but I suspect it'd be well over 300,000.
Yeah, we have not. So we would be. That's some of our homework. I think is fair to say is we
Yeah.
need to get back with the school and say, okay, what have you done? What is your appetite for this? We've alluded to it a couple times, but there's been some capital constraints that we've been going through with budgeting and whatnot. Are you guys getting feedback? I'm starting to hear.
Yeah, a little bit. I am.
Okay. So anyway, that the whole capital discussion is a little bit fraught with peril, perhaps. I feel a little tense, but we need to go through it and be cognizant of their needs as well as sensitive to what we would need to bring to the table.
Because, I mean, even if we look at what we have in free cash and in capital stabilization, we're nowhere near that dollar figure. That might actually require capital exclusion.
So, and I don't know what they're doing with the, whether it be I guess that would be a capital exclusion, like
Like a 1 year,
a
like
debt
a one.
type of offering or
Yeah.
what. I don't know what they're doing. So we need, I guess we owe you that to understand exactly what's on the plate, what their appetite for is. I know at one point they kind of backpedaled and said, well, I really need is controls. And we're like, well, controls are one piece of it. And, electrification is a whole big other piece. So we need to kind of get the scope.
Well, Capital did approve them for, I think it's like 170,000 for controls.
Yeah. So
The elevator controls.
yeah, but that would be separate. This would be like a building management system. And
Oh, okay.
anyway, so we have work to do.
So it sounds like we need to do some work before, like there's some back and forth and conversations. Like maybe we have something in early July. It depends on what vacation schedules for folks get tough.
Yeah.
I won't be going on vacation until I go on leave, but I know it's a tough time of year. So,
Well, let's.
you can let us know if you want to do a reconnect in June or July early July before I go. You will still have a support in addition to Sean, who of course is awesome, but you'll have an additional support while I'm away from our team. But if there is capital budget that's kind of planned for it and the school wants to move forward with it, I would think you could engage a design engineer to design it so that it could be phased. And you could apply for the $225,000 this fall, but that could also be just for the BMS. But we would want to start having that conversation.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
you said, after town meeting, like when the school committee is ready to start talking about it, because if we wait until July or August, there might not be enough time. If you want to leverage the fall block green communities first for
Yeah.
something.
And they still have $100,000 LED project to complete the school too, if they wanted to.
Oh, okay.
That would be-
Maybe we
Which
do.
I've only mentioned to them a half a dozen times, but now they
Yeah,
have a
they-
permanent.
Yeah, we really pushed them hard to do the promo that we had, but we just couldn't.
No.
Well, maybe that.
I
Getting
talked
to
to
improve
school
it.
committee members. I talked to former, current folks.
I mean-
I did everything I could to
maybe
push that one.
maybe that's something we take on.
But this is going to be the last year for lighting incentives for municipal customers.
Yeah. So if we're gonna bite on this, maybe this fall is the time, and if they're not ready with a phased approach, I mean, we give them what we can, basically.
Yeah.
I think.
I mean, I did quickly just look at the report. So there is a VRF option as well as an air to water. Air to water, that would be the, doing it all in one shot essentially.
Yeah.
But there is a VRF approach where you could just do, a wing of classrooms, whatever you can afford, piece by piece that way,
Yeah, I mean, I'm not an expert on this, but my suggestion was maybe we start with the top floor of the sunniest wing and start taking out some of the most overheated classrooms. That's going to lower the overall load in the whole building if you take the worst points out. So anyway.
Or you focus on getting it ready, do the lighting, do the controls.
Yeah.
Because, that's going to add a lot of kilowatt hours to your bill. So anything you can do now to reduce that in advance of electrification wouldn't be a bad thing.
Yeah, an ounce of prevention, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so let's do this. Let's pencil in July, because we normally meet the first, Tuesday. So I think
Just not the first week in July.
Well, yeah. So that's right. We've got July 4th that we're going to have to kind of.
Yep.
So.
Second
So the 8th,
Sorry.
July 8th.
Yeah. Let's put that in pencil, and we'll put that in place. And what we will bring to the table then, I think it's Amanda's side. We will have talked to the school committee by then.
Yes, stay on me after town meeting because I can facilitate that conversation through Al before he leaves and Aaron, who is now the permanent finance director. I think the four of us should sit down and have that conversation.
It should be an easy sell. They've told us this is something they need.
We just couldn't get them to focus on it with
And
everything else they had going on.
We're effectively bringing money to the table for free for them.
Right.
That has no impact to the taxpayers directly. I mean, even though they paid for it already.
Yeah. They were just literally like
I know they're
drowning
they're
during
focused.
this. So.
Okay. So that's let's put it in pencil. In July, we'll be coming at you with more alignment between ourselves and the school. We'll have a better idea of what we'd be bringing to you, whether it would be the LED lighting, if that is like a backup, or some kind of phased approach to electrification. And that'll hold us accountable, which I think is probably a good thing.
And LED lighting plus BMS for your school, like for the school, is also a great combo for green communities.
Yeah.
We are still, honestly, like Sean and I are still getting clarification on whether we'll still be able to incentivize lighting projects that go on fall block for green communities. Just a heads up. So it might be something that we want to think about implementing before then. But I think by July, we'll definitely have, like as soon as we do get that clarification, we will let you know.
Okay.
But DOER is still funding school LED upgrades as far as we know.
Okay.
But they also, Lisa would be able to give the update. I know they have a new PON program opportunity notice that will come out soon.
Okay. Well, so be it. It is what it is. We can't really affect that. We'll try to be as quick as we can. Okay. Anything else? This was our only agenda topic for today, so that's the only thing that we actually.
I apologize. Brandy was having technical issues. She can hear, but she wasn't able to speak. So, if anyone had any questions for Brandy, now's the time, or hold until next time. Yes.
Well, I think we're good. I was actually just about to wrap up.
Yeah, I thought you were too, but I just remembered she sent me an IM a while ago, and I forgot to mention it. But
Well-
she has been here listening, so.
Well, Brandy, if it's any consolation to you, once upon a time I put Eloise on mute for like 35 minutes one time. She's desperately trying to talk. So I have a karmic debt that I'm doing there. So anyway, Sean, are you good? Do you have anything?
No, I'm good. Yep, perfect.
Okay, anybody else?
I'm fine.
Going once, going twice. Once again, thank you so much for attending this. I'm super happy to help you. And again, thank you for the tip on the fellow. We're hoping for good things from that. And I hope you have a great quarter, and we'll talk to you in July. Well, we'll actually hopefully see you at the community event in June. So we'll see you then.
Thanks, everybody.
Thank you all.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye. All right. Like I said, that was the only agenda topic we had. Any other business do we need to take care of today?
I don't think so.
All right, then I guess I will entertain a motion to adjourn.
Second, what time?
We are
5:32.
5:32. We've adjourned our meeting.